Welcome back to the Road to National series. In today's episode, I'm going to take you through a deload upper workout. So to begin with, I still do a primary movement on my deload weeks, but I basically just improv and do anything I want to like test or work on. So here I just did 2 triples at 120 kilos on bench, and I was testing out some different grip widths. So the first one, I tried a max grip width that's allowed in powerlifting. So your index finger on the ring of the bar, and then the second set I tried my middle finger on the ring. So the second set felt way better. I have been benching with my pinky finger on the ring just because my triceps are much stronger than my chest, and I can be quite dominant with like close grip bench presses as well, but I'm thinking that more of a mid grip with my middle finger on the ring is probably better. So I just took advantage of this deload week to test that theory out, and I do think it's probably going to be the best thing going forward. The only thing that is annoying is it means that I can't quite unrack it at the higher hole on my rack, so I almost have to press out of the rack from like 3 inches lower. So I can either like drill a hole in my rack halfway between those 2 holes to try and get the perfect height for my bench and rack, or I'll find some way of overcoming that. That can be done, and obviously in competition that's not going to be an issue with a comp rack. But that was still good to take that away. I did feel exceptionally weak. Those triples did not feel convincing at all. Really, I should be able to get like sets of 6 at 120, but probably more, in fact. It's only like 80% of my 1 rep max. But I always feel this way in deload weeks. I always feel really, really weak. So it's to be expected. Now, moving on to the accessories. First accessory here was rope tricep extensions. And as you can see here, I probably pushed a bit too hard on that second set. There was like a vicious burn. I had to use some like momentum to help lock out those last few reps. But it was a nice light tricep variation. I wasn't going to do something heavy that like I normally do, like a JM press or some sort of like overhead Swiss bar extensions, a large compound movement or skull crushers, anything like that. Instead, I just decided to do some light rope tricep extensions, and they still felt good. It was just I wanted to like hit 20 reps on the second set like I had done on the first set, but my triceps were getting massively pumped for some reason, probably because it is the deload week, and again I am always weaker on it. So anyway, good first accessory there. Moving on to the second accessory here, it is lat pull downs with a slightly supinated mag grip. So these, again, I decided to keep it light at 160 pounds. My working weight is usually on the lighter end, 180 pounds, but somewhere between 200 and 220 pounds. So just did 2 light sets of 15 here. These moved really well. The first set I felt a bit more in my biceps. I think I was just trying to like contract the weight down with them a bit more, versus the second set I thought of actually like driving my elbows down, and it hit my back way more. So they were good. Just some getting some nice blood into the back, keeping things ticking over. So moving on to the next accessory here, it was my chest accessory. Normally I would do more of like a compound heavier movement like the chest press on this machine, or something like a dumbbell press, but I decided to just do light chest flies at 80 pounds. So I think I got 2 sets of 16 on this. The first set felt really easy to hit 16. The second set again felt a bit more challenging. Because it's a deload week, I think I get pumped a bit quicker. Although I like plan my deload weeks and schedule them for every 4th week, I think it just fits really well with my plan. It does also seem to be that like every time I am on a deload week, I feel like I need it. So I don't know if there's an element of just placebo, and also because I know it's a deload week, like the World Cup is on at the moment. Because it's a deload week, I allowed myself to stay up and like watch a football match last night, and I only got to bed at like almost 1 in the morning. So sleep was suboptimal before this training session, but because it was a deload session, I knew that I was going to be fine and going to make it through. It wasn't like max effort sessions. They are by far the most important, that you fully recovered if you're going to set like a PR. And if I ever feel bad in a max effort, by the way, how to deal with that is to just pick a new lift PR where there isn't any pressure to hit a certain number. But yeah, I do feel like I definitely need a deload week this week on the rope tricep extensions and on those machine flies. The second sets were massively dropping off, and I do think that that's attributed to my fatigue and the fact that I do actually feel like I need a deload week as well. So moving on to the next accessory here, I went for some really light overhead dumbbell presses. I did 2 sets of 15 at 20 kilos, which I've done like 30 kilos overhead before, but my strict press max for reference is 92.5 kilos. So I could probably press the 40 kilo dumbbells overhead for like probably sets of 3 to 5, and somewhere in the range of 30 to 35 kilo dumbbells is the right working weight for me. So I did actually go lighter on this exercise, like proportionally for a deload as well, compared with any of the other accessories. And these felt great, just trying to pump up the delts. And actually I was trying to go a bit deeper than I normally do, take advantage of the lightweight and get a bigger stretch on the delt, actually bring the dumbbells all the way down to touch the delts, rather than normally I just leave it at parallel, because that's the range of motion that feels good for me at heavier weights. If I try and lower too far down, I get a little impingement in my shoulder, but taking advantage of the lightweight there to try and progressively overload the range of motion as well, because in an ideal world, I'd like to have a fuller, longer range of motion like that when I'm using heavier weights as well. So they went well. And then moving on to the next accessory here, it is alternating bicep curls with the dumbbells. I just stuck with the 20 kilo dumbbells because as I was like moving them around, it felt very manageable. Normally, like as soon as I pick up a set of dumbbells, I can basically feel whether it's going to be like realistic for me to do curls or not. Sometimes I'm wrong. The same with almost any dumbbell accessory, like the overhead dumbbell press or loo raises or lateral raises, anything like that. I can normally tell literally as soon as I pick up the dumbbells how I'm feeling on the day. And this is the only accessory that I actually did feel strong on. I think I did this weight and was only able to get sets of 8 per arm for like a working set a few weeks ago. I think I was feeling running down then, but I got 2 sets of 10 per arm, or sets of 20 in total here. So yeah, these actually did feel pretty good. The left elbow joint, as I was lowering the dumbbell down, had like a tiny minor impingement. That is pretty common if you followed the series. Like over the last 2 months in particular, I've always seemed to have some sort of little niggle, whether it's like I've aggravated my neck, or like my rotator cuff, or my shoulders and elbow joints were hurting for a bit, and then I tweaked my adductor doing Bulgarian split squats. There always seems to be something. That's pretty common. It doesn't mean you should stop training. I think people use it as an excuse not to train far too much. Really, the most beneficial thing you can do is monitor it and just go really light on exercises and get some blood into the working area. Like red blood cells are going to be very useful for healing. And obviously, if it does turn into a persistent injury or issue, go and get it properly rehabbed from a physio. But the last exercise here was GHD sit-ups. I did 2 sets of 10 unweighted. So I did actually go like the most range of motion I have done on this. I was like, I might as well see how far back I can go. I think some of that extra range of motion is just me tilting my head back, so I'm not sure it provided any extra range of motion for the abs. And as I'm like watching it back, it looks like I'm sort of trying to brace as I go down. My abs look quite distended and like I'm holding a lot of air in there as well. So I wasn't thinking about that at the time, but I was probably trying to just brace and then like stretch myself into position, which is a bit more suboptimal than to actually have the abs contracting properly. Like when you're bracing for powerlifting, obviously you want to brace, but when you're training the abs themselves, you don't want to brace or do whatever the hell I was doing there. But overall, the session was good, got through it, nice deload upper workout. So that is it for today's video. I hope you did in fact enjoy the video. If you did, drop it a like, drop it a comment, subscribe, click the bell, all of that good stuff. Thanks for watching to the end, and I hope you have a great day.